So let me say this up front. Most nonprofits are not underfunded because they're doing bad work. They're underfunded because they believe things about grants that just simply aren't true. Those beliefs, they quietly cost nonprofit organizations thousands of dollars each year. So today I just wanted to walk through some of the most common grant myths I see and what is actually on the funder side, what's really happening. All right. So if you've ever said the following, oh, we're doing great work, so eventually the money will follow, or we just need another grant writer, or if, oh, we didn't get funded, they must not like us. This video is for you because grants aren't just about good intentions, they're about clarity, alignment, and readiness on the funder's end. So let's go ahead and get into it. Myth number one, oh, if our mission is good enough, funding will follow. Here's the truth. Funders don't just fund missions, they fund plans. Every application reviewer, they're thinking about these three key questions. Do we understand what the organization does? Do we believe they can execute on said mission? Can they show outcomes, not just passion? A strong mission is the entry ticket into a relationship with a funder, but it's not the winning factor. When this myth costs you money is when applications stay vague, when goals aren't measurable, and when impact is described emotionally but not operationally. Good work needs clear language to get funded. So that is so important to make sure that your application is really portraying or answering the questions. What does your organization do? Do you have enough support or capacity to actually execute on that mission? And are you able to show success stories? And I don't mean that in just testimonials, but in data, testimonials, and things of that nature. You need to have all of that. So let's move on to myth number two. Myth number two is people believing more words in the application means a stronger application. And that is the furthest from the truth, quite honestly. This one hurts a lot of otherwise strong nonprofits. Longer applications do not score higher. The clearer ones do. Most reviewers, I've sat on dozens of different grant application review committees, and we are typically given a stack of grant applications, dozens of them, and we have maybe a week, if that's being gracious, actually, a week to go through and review all these applications, then score them and rank them, make notes, all the things. So when you have reviewers looking at your application, they are skimming for alignment, logic, and feasibility. And when applications have all this word vomit on there, or they just are so verbose, long, repetitive, just unfocused, reviewers just think, this isn't thorough, this isn't clear, I don't understand. So clarity is not just dumbing things down, it's respecting the process. If there is a character limit or a word limit on an application, it does not mean you have to go up to that character limit. You can literally just, if you can answer the question, be succinct and clear, and if that means you take up half the characters or half the word limit, that is perfect, because again, that reviewer just has only so much time. If they have 40 applications they have to look through and they're taking an hour just on your application, they're probably going to set it aside, come back to it at another time when they have more brain cells, they're more alert, and they're going to go through the other applications. And especially when they're more clear than your organization's grant application, they're probably going to score higher, because in the reviewer's mind, they're thinking about this really wordy, verbose application compared to this other organization's application that's so much clearer and it was easier to read and easier to get through and understand, that it won't bode well for your organization. So definitely more words does not equal a stronger application. All right, so let's go into myth three. Myth three is we just need to hire a grant writer. I have a video about hiring a grant writer. And I would say, again, this is probably one of the most expensive myths for nonprofits. A grant writer is amazing, but they are not God. So what I mean by that is that a grant writer cannot fix an unclear program model, weak financial systems, missing data. They can't just invent data. That's one of the craziest things I've seen nonprofits trying to do in a grant application. Or if there's internal confusion about priorities, a grant writer can't come in and clear that up for you. That's going to take leadership. That's going to take people within the organization to clear those things up first. Grant writing is not magic. It may feel that way, especially if the funds come through, but it's literally a grant writer is just translating the information or the programs that you have in your nonprofit and translating them to the application. That is what it is. And so if the organization isn't clear internally, the proposal won't be clear externally, no matter what that grant writer does. So when nonprofits skip the readiness portion and getting their house together and just jump straight into writing grant applications, they will pay repeatedly with grant applications that just won't be funded. That's the truth. So let me take a sip of tea here. It's still freezing cold in Florida right now. I think it's 38 degrees right now. Oh, that is good. Myth number 4, funders only care about numbers. Numbers matter, they do, but numbers alone do not persuade a funder. Funders are looking for outcomes and meaning, data and the context of that data, evidence, yet insight. And so if you only give the stories, it feels ungrounded. And then if you only give the data, it feels forgettable. So you really have to have both. The strongest applications show what changed, why it mattered, and how the organization knows that it worked, that it happened. And that balance, it's a very fine balance, but that is where funding decisions happen because, again, funders are looking for the data and the stories behind it. So let's move into myth 5. If you didn't get funded, they didn't like us. It is rare, unless you're like a hate group or something like that. This has never really happened before. Maybe I'm being naive, but at least on the applications that I review, it's not about me. And granted, I will say this, I'll be perfectly frank. There are some organizations that I don't align with, and like they're, your everyday organizations that, very popular, get all the donations. There are some that I don't truly believe in, or I don't like their model. But even as a grant application reviewer, I have to put aside my biases and make sure that, okay, is this organization, based on their application, are they meeting the guidelines? Are they a right fit? What are they meeting what's required in the application? Are they part of the strategic priority list for the funder? Forget about what I think. It has nothing to do with what I think. So I hope there's other reviewers out there that are like that as well, putting their own their own biases aside. But seriously, most rejections, they seriously just come from either a bad fit when it comes to the funder. Maybe it's not a strategic priority, whatever the nonprofit is pitching to them. Timing could just be off. If a funder is in the middle of their fiscal year, dollars may have already been paid out to other grant applications. So their ask is just at the wrong time. Maybe they just need to ask at the beginning of the fiscal year. So that is a good question to always ask. Or sometimes just budget constraints. Many a times it is just a matter of the need in the communities that I know that I serve. They outweigh the resources that are available. So it has nothing to do about, oh, they don't like me or they like this organization or they're playing favorites. It literally just could be, hey, we can fund 10 applications, but we got 100 in. That literally is what it is. So it has nothing to do with the organization, with their leadership, anything like that. So don't take it personally. It's just, again, when nonprofits assume that the rejection is personal, they disengage rather just adjusting. They miss feedback. They miss future cycles for the grants. And then they also miss relationships. So, I would always say treat a no often as like a not right now. And then also just ask questions. Because if you go back to the organization, depending on the amount of applications they received, if you ask them, hey, can you give us some guidance on our application on why we weren't selected? Many times it's just, hey, nothing against you all. It's just we had so many other grants that came in and they rose higher to our strategic priorities than your application did. So it really had nothing to do with you. The need just outweighed what the resources were available. So the biggest thing in that is don't take a no personally. Just readjust, pivot, ask questions as far as why you didn't get it, and then better prepare for the next round. All right, so myth 6. General operating support is harder to get. This used to be a thing back in the day. I mean, even to this day, there are some donors that I talk to where they want to fund a specific program or investment in something very specific. But the thing that nonprofits really need, and we as funders also understand this, is the general operating support. Because without the operations behind your nonprofit, the programs can't get done. And I think many donors are finally coming to realize that, and they're using or they're giving more unrestricted gifts. And again, even funders are understanding that sometimes the best way to help a nonprofit is just to give unrestricted to operations. So then that way they can shift those maybe operational dollars that they had allotted to other important programs or priorities or strategic plans that they have within their nonprofit. So it, like I said, used to be true. It's increasingly not. Many funders now understand that strong programs require strong organizations. But I will say here's a catch to that, though. You can't ask for generating operating funds without explaining how the organization functions, why the capacity matters, and then how operations support the impact. So I think it's the storytelling, weaving that line between, again, I understand, the funder understands, the donor to an extent understands, but when you can write it in concrete words to say, our operations fund 2,000 kids being fed over the summer, this is how, it really translates and it really hits home to the donor why that operational and also the funder, why that operational support is so needed. All right. Myth 7, once we get a grant, we're all set. Grants are not transactions, they are relationships. What happens after the funding matters just as much as the application, if not more so. You want to make sure that you have communication, there's good reporting, good follow through, and stewardship. Organizations lose future funding when they disappear after the check clears. I know we've had so many nonprofits, they'll get a grant and then we literally will not hear from them until they submit their grant report maybe a week before they then apply for another grant with us. But throughout the program, there was nothing, no kind of communication, no email, newsletters, no nothing. And I mean, grant applications, that is a great way to build a relationship with a funder to also ensure future funding. And strong post-award practices leads to, again, renewals, referrals, and trust between the nonprofit and the funder as well. All right, so last myth is small nonprofits can't compete. And I would say size is not the defining factor of this. The clarity is. So going back to myth 1, it's the clarity that really matters. Small organizations often have strong community trust, direct proximity to impact, clear focus. These typically start off with boots on the ground. They're directly working with the people that they serve. There's just, I feel like, more impact with those smaller organizations. But when small nonprofits don't apply, it's usually because they aren't competitive, or not usually because they're uncompetitive, but it's just that they just assume they aren't. So I would say even if you are a smaller nonprofit and you're going up against a bigger nonprofit that's been around for 20, 30 plus years, don't assume that, because sometimes different funders have different priorities. And so I would say there are funders who are maybe even looking for those nonprofits that are maybe serving in gaps in the community. And also, I would say almost want to invest in the smaller nonprofit to help them get on their feet, to help them with capacity building, to help them with operational support. But it is, again, I would say it's, even as a small nonprofit, it's even more important for you to be able to tell your story using the data, using your impact stories, really being clear and concise about what you do, why you're different, all the different things. So I just feel like small nonprofits can compete, but it just means that you don't have history to rest your laurels on. You have to be more not aggressive, but more assertive. You have to really tell your story. You have to really be out there and doing just that. So that's the only thing. So don't count yourself out if you're a smaller nonprofit. All right. So those are the myths for today. I think that's all I have for you. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll sift through them and answer them one by one. But thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time. If you are new here, welcome. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Monie, and I'm just creating videos for those nonprofit professionals, for entrepreneurs, for any and everyone who is looking to strive to design a life that fits them and their current needs. I have a ton of different videos at this point on my channel page, so feel free to check out those playlists there. I make videos every single day. And I would say for our affirmation for today, you know what? The affirmation for today is don't count yourself out. You got this. All right. So thank you again for spending time with me this evening, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.